Salutations readers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nkechi, and for today this is going to be Minnesota Winter Diary number 14. So today is Monday, February 10th. I'm trying to remember my dates now. And it is evening, and I figured, you know what, why not start another video diary? I really do like doing them, especially when I feel like I need a little bit more motivation to do some reading, but also to do other things. So first up, as far as what I'm going to be reading, again, it is definitely a mood reading thing, but right now I think I'm actually in a mood for some solid sci-fi. But I don't want to like start any new books that are sci-fi. I just want to continue reading those sci-fi books I'm currently reading, which I am surprised that I actually am reading that much sci-fi. Like, as much as I do love speculative fiction, I'm definitely leaning more towards fantasy than sci-fi, which is good though, because I do actually have some sci-fi on my physical TBR, so I need to get through that. And speaking of which, as far as the books that I'm currently reading, that is sci-fi, I am charging this, but I do have an e-arc of The Potency of Ungovernable Impulses by Michael Older. This is the third book in the Investigations of Moss and Paletti series. And yeah, I think I'm only on chapter 2 in my e-arc. And I do want to actually make more of a dent into this one, especially since it is short. It's literally about, I think my e-arc is about 250 something pages. So I'm like, you know, it would be nice to maybe finish that. I don't know if I will be able to, though, in this video diary or not, but maybe get more of a dent to build up the momentum. But as of today, though, I have been reading more of, like, Rebel Sisters by Tocho Nobuchi. This is the sequel to War Girls that I read last year. That was one of the best books I read last year, so I need to read the sequel. I want to read this book that's on my physical TBR and also finish Duology. Like, it's been over a year now since I started reading, since I read, War Girls, so I need to read Rebel Sisters. And so far, I'm indeed really intrigued. I think I only got to 53 pages, so chapter 9. And I'm also listening to the audiobook as well, so it's kind of like a hybrid reading situation, or at least I'm just moving the bookmark around from where I left off in the audiobook. But I am indeed really enjoying my time, though, with Rebel Sisters. It is a different narrator, though, than, like, War Girls, so I'm not particularly loving that. I hate when they switch audiobooks in between and within a series. I mean, audiobooks. I hate when they switch audiobook narrators in a series. That's actually a little bit annoying. But I am indeed curious to see more about the sequel. I don't want to talk too much about it just yet, but when I have a little bit more of an update, I'll tell you a little bit more about Rebel Sisters. And then I am still reading Death of the Author by Nnedi Okorafor. I do want to put more of a dent into this one. I think I got further than last time I talked to y'all about Death of the Author. I do have it as an e-arc, but I'm just reading this one physically because I don't know. I think my brain is getting more into reading books physically now, which is great because I do have a lot of books on my physical TBR that I'm trying to get through, so let's do that. But also, this is a book I recently hauled though, so it'd be nice to also finish reading this book as well. And this one's not quite hard sci-fi. It is a literary sci-fi in the sense of, yeah, it's just like a literary sci-fi, and at least on Storygraph they tagged it as a thriller as well, which I'm just like, is it thriller? We're about to find out. I mean, I'm just gonna keep reading and I'll let y'all know how accurate that is, if it's literary sci-fi thriller. But so far, it's lit fic for sure. The sci-fi, I can actually kind of see it a little bit. The thriller part is where I'm kind of like turning my head a little bit, like I'm not totally sure. So those are like the books that I'm focusing more so like reading wise, but for things I'm not doing reading wise, I actually do want to watch some films and actually definitely catch up on some TV. I actually have not been catching up on a couple of shows that I've been currently keeping up to date, so I need to catch up on those shows, finish off some seasons. And also I did go to the library today. Actually, I just came back from going to my local library and I picked up I picked up A Hold, and then I also borrowed a few things. So first up, the hold I picked up for was Shubik Lubik by Dina Mohammed. This is a graphic novel that's translated from Arabic actually to English. And it says here, this is a brilliantly original debut graphic novel that imagines a fantastical Cairo where wishes really do come true. Dina Mohammed brings to life a cast of characters whose struggles and triumphs are heartbreaking, inspiring, and deeply reminiscent. So I actually heard of this book because of, I think, Sajid from Books Are My Social Life here on YouTube, but they talked about the book sometime last year, and I was very intrigued, especially since it's a graphic novel and it's translated, and I've been wanting to read more translated work. So I saw that my library had a copy, and I placed a hold, and I was like, well, let's give this a shot. It's definitely a thick one. It's a very big, a little bit heavy graphic novel, but I'm very curious to check out Shubik Lubik and see what I think about it. I don't think I'll read it though in this video diary, but I want to read it soon, that's for sure. And then, while I was in the library, I actually was browsing through the movie TV show aisle to see like the DVDs and stuff. And I was like, oh, you know what? I saw all the movies that they had there. I was like, you know what? I'm actually interested in a few of these movies. So I got like 4 of them because like, why not? And also because I do want to utilize my library a little bit more besides books. So why not start borrowing some movies, TV shows, or whatever. First up though, I just got the movies. I didn't borrow any TV. So one of them though is Barbie. I did not get to see Barbie in theaters or in streaming or anything. So I figured, you know what, why not try watching Barbie? So the library had it. So I was like, okay, cool, let's go for it. Same thing with Challengers. Never seen it in theaters. I've heard people really like it. And I want to give this one a shot. I've been very curious about it since it came out. Then I heard of The Menu, which really intrigued me. This movie that, I don't remember which studio made, but I just know that it's darkly funny and that has a really weird horror thriller kind of feeling regarding chefs. And I'm like, okay, I'm here for it. Let's give this a shot. And then this film here, I actually heard of from like a few years ago. It's definitely an older film, but I don't know. I heard that would be really good and I should watch it. So I do want to watch Good Will Hunting. That apparently stars Robin Williams and Matt Damon. So I was like, okay, all right, sure, why not? Let's give that a shot. So yeah, these are the 4 movies that I'm currently borrowing from my library. And apparently, because I did not actually know how long you had to hold on to a DVD for. So apparently though, according to my little receipt, I have until next week actually to watch these movies. So I'm like, okay, sure. So maybe throughout the week, I'll watch 1 or 2 of these movies and then I can tell y'all my thoughts on these movies. So yeah, that's pretty much it for what I got from my library. But then I also want to show y'all something I got from Pango. So I literally just picked it up actually right when I came back from the library. I do already know what the book is, but I want to show y'all what the book is. Okay, so it's in a plastic thing, but as y'all can see, it is The Lotus Empire by Tasha Suri, the 3rd book in the Burning Kingdoms trilogy. So yeah, look at that. Looks very nice. I love the cover. I'm so here for it. Looking all so good. Very great condition. Love it indeed. So yes, so whenever it's time for me to do a buddy to start this buddy read with Nat and also Julie as well, I actually have the book physically to do that. So very, very excited though that I finally have this book physically, and I definitely will be reading it as soon as I possibly can. I do have the audiobook on hold. Problem is though is that it's months away, so only time will tell when I get to listen to this one. Read this one via audio as well. But yeah, very excited though to start reading The Lotus Empire whenever I can. But yeah, that's pretty much it though. That's all I have for this intro and some initial updates as well. And I will definitely be updating y'all when I have something about books, movies, TV, reviews, whatever. Salutations, y'all. So it is Tuesday. It's around 2 p.m. and I do have a few updates. Mostly just updates on reading, mostly. I haven't really watched anything, any of the movies that I borrowed yet. But as far as reading, I've been continued reading things. I have not finished anything yet, but I've gone further in some books. So first off, let me just talk about the 3 books that I actually continued reading. Not too much of a big gap from beforehand, but enough to have some sort of an update. So let's actually start off with The Potency of Ungovernable Impulses by Maka Older. So again, this is the third book in the investigation of Masa Paletti series. I'm not sure if this is the last book. Like, a part of me thinks this is the final book in the series, but I don't know yet. The synopsis never said it was a conclusion, so there's probably gonna be another book. But we do start off this novel actually, because it's not a novella. It's too long to be a novella. It's literally 256 pages, so way too long to be a novella. So I'm like, okay, sure. So it's gonna be longer. It does feel a little bit slower paced as well because of that. And also we do start off the story following, of course we always start off with like the prologue being in Masa's perspective, and then the rest of the story onwards is in Paletti's, but we start off the story actually with Masa and Paletti not together. Even though when I'm at 21%, so a part of me is kind of just like, it's feeling a little bit bored. I still find the world building part of it to be very interesting, especially when we're in a different part of Giant, which is pretty much like Jupiter basically. We're in the space stations. So I think we're in a different space station, but we're still on Giant. I think the mystery in this one is that there is a scholar whose reputation is on the line because of a accusation of plagiarism, which is not like the most pressing kind of mystery, but it is intriguing because, especially when it comes to scholarship, it is indeed very important. Being accused of plagiarism is a big thing. That makes sense to me. But it's definitely not the most pressing, like, immediate kind of thing. So I guess we're just taking our time with these accusations a little bit. And Masa is not... She doesn't have much of a presence right now. She is definitely dealing with some form of depression. I don't know where this depression... I don't know why she's feeling depressed. I'm not sure where this is coming from. I do have a couple suspicions. But it is interesting for me at least, to think that, Masa is experiencing some form of depression. And I'm very curious actually to see how she came to that particular emotional low point. And Paletti is just really worried. It's like, wait, what's going on here? She's definitely worried for Masa, but also she's trying to be there for this one scholar. She wants to do it for that, especially since where she has to go is much further than where she already is. So then she's not there for Masa. But I don't know. I don't know how Masa is going to come into the main story here. I'm not sure what's going to incline her to do that. I'm not sure. At least I hope she does, because this is the series between the two of them. So Masa has to come into like the mystery portion. I just don't know how that's gonna work. I do worry for Masa, so we shall see how that goes. So while I was reading The Potency of Ungovernable Impulses, I switched my book to Rebel Sisters, that I was actually reading. I was listening to the audiobook actually while I went to the library, and also while I also hung out of the library a little bit. So let's see, where am I? Yeah, 53 pages. So that's where I was last time. So this is the sequel to War Girls. And this book, we are following Ify. Okay. Maybe like, I remember her name. No, I don't. So Ify, who is a character for sure in the first book. And this one, she's more like the main focus character here, because she has a position of power and like these space colonies that she's wanted to go to for a long time. This is after the futuristic version of the Biafran War, so it's the aftermath of that. Just her going through life with the space colonies. That's so far right now, and I'm not very far into it, so that's all I really know of. But so far, I am indeed at least intrigued. The audiobook narrator is different, though, than the first book. And I don't particularly love the narrator, unfortunately. I did prefer the narrator of the first book, to be quite honest with you. But the narrator for this sequel is not too bad. It's just I really, really prefer the first book's narrator. But nonetheless, though, the audiobook doesn't deter me too much. I just, whenever I'm in the mood for an audiobook, I'm definitely going to check out Rebel Sisters. So yeah, I'm just not really far into the story to really talk about what the synopsis talks about, so I can't say much besides what I already know so far. But I am indeed very intrigued to see, like, how Tochi Onyebuchi is going to go about the aftermath of the Biafran War and talk about pretty much the trauma about that, whether you were a child soldier or just someone who's been affected by the war, and all that. And there is their own particular refugee crisis as well, so I'm very curious to see how Tochi Onyebuchi wraps up this duology. And then last night I continued my read of Death of the Author by Nnedi Okorafor. I am about 120 pages into this book. So again, this is following Zelu, who is a disabled Nigerian American author who's really trying to like get her work done, just trying to like get a novel to be published, and just having a lot of trouble with that, until one day when she finds out that she's fired from her adjunct professor position at this one university. It's a low point, and then she gets high, and she writes the zero draft of Rusted Robots, which if y'all saw it without this dust jacket, that's what this hardcover, this is what the nakedness is. It's the name of the book that Zelu publishes, which is pretty much a sci-fi dystopian futuristic world where, you know, things are on fire. There's very little humans. Actually, humans are nearly extinct. There's robots everywhere. Places are underwater. I think the story mainly takes place on around Lagos, Nigeria, as far as Rusted Robots is concerned. As far as the actual contemporary setting that we're following, the literary fiction part, I think the story takes place in Chicago. So yes, I really like the duality of the book, actually, where we're following Zelu's story and when we get actually excerpts of Rusted Robots within the text. I think that is so cool because this book is actually quite metafiction, kind of like Yellowface metafiction with some commentary. But it's not like Yellowface in the sense of we have a white author who's trying to pretend to be a different race. That's not what's going on here. But we do indeed have an author, though, who is having trouble with the publishing industry a little bit. At least even get into it. So I'm in the part of the story where she wrote Rusted Robots, it got a book deal, all the things, film rights, all the things, instant success kind of thing. My book's been published, early reviews. So, Zelu is pretty much I feel like it's actually kind of on cloud nine. But also it's very interesting, too, because there's this level of technology that I don't know if it's actually available in the United States like that. But I think I've heard inklings of it. So there is definitely sci-fi elements into even the contemporary part regarding certain technology. I think it is introduced to our current day. But it's just not as well used, I should say. Still new, very new technology. I mean, still new even in here, but I do find the use of the technology to be quite interesting, especially for Zelu. And now she uses that technology as a way, I guess, of some sort of agency for herself, especially when she wants to go places, because she is why can I not say what it is? She's a wheelchair user. In order for her to get around places, she has to rely on her family to take her places, but she wants the sense of independence and agency of her own. So there is definitely actually a lot of instances of ableism actually that she experiences, mostly from her family, that I definitely can tell that it really affects Zelu as far as not just how she sees herself, but also just it definitely affects the way she writes. I mean, even when she writes some Rusted Robots, actually. It's easy to read. I like the parts where we get excerpts of the story she's writing, but also we also get these kind of interlude interview sections as well, because I guess something happened. I don't know if something happens to Zelu, but there's some reporter that's interviewing people close to Zelu, and I think something happened to Zelu that we're warranting these excerpts of some interview snippets portions. So I don't know yet. I'm also kind of annotating a little bit as well, just going through it because I'm really having a great time with it, especially when this book actually does talk about the Nigerian American experience, which I definitely do relate as someone who is Nigerian American. So this book is definitely for me so far. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I really have to update y'all on. I will continue reading all 3 of these books because yes, I will continue reading them until maybe hopefully I can finish one of them. I don't know which one I'll finish. Sci-fi is one of those genres that I don't really particularly rush to finish, unlike something like fantasy, since I'm such an avid fantasy reader. But since I'm not quite an avid sci-fi reader, I kind of take my time with it. So we shall see if I finish reading any of these books. Ideally though, I want to finish one of them. I don't think I'll finish more than one, but ideally one. We shall see which one that will be, and then also get through any of the movies that I borrow from my library as well. 2, 3, even all of them if I can. So we shall see. And as far as the rest of today, honestly, I'm not totally sure what I'm going to be doing. I think I will still be reading. I'm just kind of catching up on YouTube videos right now, but I think I will be continue reading all 3 of these books, or maybe 1 or 2 of them, who knows. And then hopefully I'll just pop in one of the movies that I borrowed. So I don't know which one I will start with, actually. Maybe I could start with Barbie. Let's maybe try with a comedy kind of thing. And if not Barbie, maybe, I don't know. It's either Barbie, The Menu, or The Challengers first. I want to save Good Will Hunting for last, but I think we'll start with Barbie first. And as far as what I'll watch second, I don't even know. Because The Challengers and The Menu are kind of 2 different vibes, so I don't know which one I'm going to start with. But we'll start with Barbie though. I think that's a good one to start. So yeah, I'll definitely talk to you all, I think tomorrow. Or I don't know. We'll just reconvene when I have something to update y'all on. Salutations, y'all. It is Wednesday, and I do have a few updates. So just on the B-roll, I did get a book from Pango. It was Voices of the Dead by Ambrose Parra. I do have it in the living room. I also don't feel like getting up and show the book. I already showed y'all the book, so I already read the book, so that's almost like there's not much really to say about that book because I've already read it. I'm just waiting for the 5th and final book to come out later on this year. Also, I did do a little bit more reading. I think I continued reading The Potency of Ungovernable Impulses by Michael Older. I think I read 2 more chapters in that book. I'm getting a little bit bored, not gonna lie. I'm getting kind of bored because Masa's not there. And I need Masa and Paletti to be bouncing off each other, but Masa's still not on page yet. So I'll keep trying. I'm gonna keep going until Masa gets on the page, but it's not also helping me either that this is not a novella. So I'm just like, okay, so we're here a little bit longer. And I did try to continue reading How to Pronounce Knife by, I actually don't remember the author's name right now, but here's the cover. I am DNFing it. I like around 31%. It's a very short contemporary literary short story collection. It's very, very short. It's less than 200 pages if you have it physically. But the audiobook is about under 3 hours. So I was like, okay, let me use my remaining Spotify audiobook listening hours to read this short story collection. That was actually recommended to me for like the 12 Recs by 12 Friends. I think it was in 2023. And unfortunately, this was just a miss for me. I'm just gotten really bored. I don't particularly like the narrators either. But I got on board with the short story collection. So I just said, nah, I'm done. So DNF'd it, 31%. And then I did my little bit of reading, which honestly, I guess yesterday was not much of a reading day. Let alone today, honestly. But yesterday and even today was more of a watching movies and TV day. So let's start with movie again, because I did start off, I think sometime yesterday, I watched Barbie for the first time. I actually watched it with one of my younger siblings. And for those of you who do not know, Barbie is pretty much a movie where we're following, well, a Barbie doll, but we are in the world of like Barbie land. And this one Barbie, who is stereotypical Barbie, realizes that she's not acting like a Barbie doll anymore. In fact, she's starting to become a little bit more real and human. So she goes into the real world to figure out what's going on. One of the Kens, who has this crush on stereotypical Barbie, follows her, goes to the real world, and shenanigans ensue. I have to say this was kind of mediocre, not gonna lie. I'm actually a little bit surprised that it even got so much hype, not gonna lie. But also it kind of makes sense, but really it does not make any sense to me why Barbie 2023 has such big hype when it came out. Like, I can get it since, again, it's based on like the doll, but also maybe it's because I used to be a fan of Barbie, like as a doll a little bit, but also not really. I was actually more interested in like the animated films. That was me as a kid. Barbie and I really liked like the films. Other than that, not really much on the dolls. But this particular film, like, I wasn't quite certain what they're trying to say. And I think it's because what they were trying to say, they failed at communicating that properly. It was just kind of it just really failed at trying to talk about the patriarchy and how it worked. Since in Barbie land, you know, everyone is a Barbie. Every Barbie is in some sort of position of power and some sort of excellence. Like, astronauts, presidents, all the women, all people in the Supreme Court were Barbies, none of the Kens. So it's almost like a utopia, I guess, for women and girls, basically. But then when Barbie gets into the real world, well, she learns about patriarchy. Even Ken learns about patriarchy. And that whole plot line was really really weird. It just felt like the film didn't fully understand how patriarchy really worked. So then the messages that it's also trying to say, besides how patriarchy works and how to combat that, it just all fall apart. I was like, this is not making any damn sense. This is not how patriarchy works. So it makes no sense on how these other events were going on. Like, I did not understand what they were trying to do. At first I was thinking, oh yeah, this is probably like a 2.5 star film, but then I really thought about like, no, we're lacking proper direction here, so I'm giving this one a 2 star. That's it. For a long minute I was kind of figuring out, okay, so where are we going? And there was this one weird side plot, actually there's 2 side plots actually, that really confused me. I was like, what are we doing here? Like, I genuinely did not understand what the fuck we were doing there. So yeah, that was just really weird. So then last night, I finally watched the final 2 episodes of Hell's Kitchen, season 23, Head Chefs Only. So any of y'all who do not know, well, Hell's Kitchen is one of the many shows that Gordon Ramsay hosts. But in this particular one, Hell's Kitchen is where we have like I think like about 18? Is it 18 chefs? Yeah. I think it's about 18 chefs every single season. I mean, as the seasons go on, that standard as far as who enters does get harder and harder, especially as we go on. Especially for this particular season, we have 18 chefs who are head chefs in their own restaurants, and they're all vying for position to be the head chef under Gordon Ramsay in one of their restaurants. For season 23, I think it was Foxwoods Resort and Casino in Connecticut. It was the first time actually Hell's Kitchen moved to the East Coast, because the previous 22 seasons, they were all in like California. So it's the very first time we actually went to the East Coast for season 23. And I was really rooting for one particular contestant since he made it into the final 3, but that particular contestant did not make it to the actual finale. Unfortunately. And as far as who the person who won and got the job, I was able to guess before the actual reveal who it would be, and I figured out the reason why as well. So I was like, okay, I want to see what comes with. I've seen Hell's Kitchen, like I've seen every single episode of Hell's Kitchen, so I was pretty good at determining who would win. It's very rare actually that I would even not guess it right. I think I guessed right more so than I guessed wrong. But this was a season that I did guess right. So yeah, I mean, I guessed right, but it doesn't quite mean I wanted that person to win. There's other people I wanted to win instead, but it is what it is. So yeah, congratulations. I made filmed these things a while ago. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Hell's Kitchen season 23. Now let's also talk about Challengers, because I literally just finished watching that like 15 minutes ago. This film is kind of weird, not gonna lie, but kind of entertaining. Maybe not like a weird, because there are films that are actually weird, but it's weird for me because I'm like, because like it is better than Barbie, but it wasn't a great film. So for those of you who do not know, Challengers actually came out last year. So this is the one with, Zendaya in it. We follow actually 3 characters really. So one of them is Tashi. She was a tennis player, like kind of like a young prodigy kind of like tennis player who had an injury that led her to not be able to play tennis anymore, but become a coach instead. And she's married to this guy named Art, who is currently having like this losing streak in his professional tennis career. And then he goes into like this challenger tournament thing, where it's pretty much like the lowest level as far as like pro is concerned. It's just to help. It's like Tashi thinks like, oh, do this challenger thing so that you can like get your confidence back up, so you can go back to like the higher level of pros. But Art and Tashi see this guy named Patrick, who was Tashi's former boyfriend, but also was Art's best friend. So yeah, there's some drama about that. And yeah, it's pretty much like this entire film was kind of like a tennis match in of itself. Like, we have the main story. I think the main story was really about this tennis match and what led up to the tennis match between Art and Patrick. And also what even led up to Tasha again being a coach, specifically for Art actually. She is Art's coach, but also his wife. So how did that all end up? Well, you do get like a lot of flashbacks, which I have to say I don't particularly love how the film goes back and forth in time. I don't think it's quite seamless, but it does remind me kind of like a tennis match. Now, for those of you who do not know, I actually used to play in tennis in high school, all 4 years in high school. I wasn't really that good, to be honest. I was decent. But watching this film, though, it did remind me like, dang, I actually do kind of miss playing tennis, not gonna lie. But then it did remind me actually about the film structure, because the way, especially when we go back and forth in time, especially with how long we stay in back in time versus the current time, or closer to the main tennis match kind of point, I do find it very much whiplashy, but it does remind me in like a tennis match, like how when the ball goes back and forth, what we call a rally, basically. Some rallies are really long, some rallies are kind of short. Sometimes you go from one rally to another one, to another one, to another one, and it's like, oh, okay. So it did make me think of actually a tennis match. But the thing about this film, though, is that it's not quite about tennis. Like, it's about tennis, but it's also not about tennis at the same time. Like, tennis, like, to someone on the outside looking in, it's about tennis. But when you're really into it, it's less so about tennis, it's more so about the fact that Art and Patrick are sexually attracted, but also in love with Tashi. And that for Tashi, she's not really in love with either of them, even though she does marry Art eventually, even has a kid with him, but she's not in love with him. She loves winning. She loves tennis. And it's even harder for her when she got her injury and she couldn't play tennis anymore. But one thing she does love, though, is people winning, especially when she's on the winning side. Honestly, for her attraction, her attention to either of them really does go back and forth depending on who's the better tennis player. So for me, I'm just kind of like, huh. Like, because I really wasn't sure about this, because I knew that people really enjoyed watching challengers. I've seen more middling reviews as well, but I've only heard about that. I didn't look too deeply, honestly, into people's reviews, because I didn't want to know too much in case I actually wanted to watch it myself. But I will just say, I wasn't sure if, like, Tashi really actually loved either of them. And watching this film, I don't think she ever did. Even when Art or Patrick wants to talk about anything but tennis, she just disengages in the conversation. I found that to be very weird, because I didn't expect that, but also it makes sense. But then also it makes me think about Art and Patrick and like what they love about her. It's like Tashi saw an opportunity and she just took it. Like, Art and Patrick were best friends, and they were like a whole tennis duo and everything. And then it was weird that then we have this hotshot tennis prodigy, Tashi, and then in a way she's like, I don't want to be a homewrecker, but she ends up being a homewrecker actually for the both of them. And she is indeed toxic, though. Like, she's not a good person. She is actually kind of like a piece of shit, not gonna lie. And then also seeing in time, like, how her relationship between the two boys, how she goes back and forth between them even, and how that even affects Patrick and Art's, like, careers even, especially with Art particularly. I felt like Art has this sense of worth for him, at least to Tashi's eyes, that if he's not a great tennis player, that she would not love him. And I know she said that that's not quite true, but honestly, I looked at her and I'm like, that is very true. I don't think you love him unless he's a winner. I think you'll go with Patrick or Art depending on who wins. And to be quite honest, it's very much true. So this is indeed a very toxic movie about tennis, but also not about tennis at the same time. Yeah, I did find it to be entertaining. If you're here for toxicity, if you're here for just mess, child, this is the movie for you. This is a movie features some serious mess, but also sport. Do you have to care about tennis to care about the movie? You have to care about how it maybe not, well, do you have to care about tennis to care about the movie? I think it helps if you care about tennis, but also, I don't think you have to love tennis to understand that when it comes with a sport as intense like tennis, I think you could just enjoy it for what it is like that. So yeah, I think I give this one 4 stars. I think I had a good time. I liked it. I definitely think, though, there were certain music choices that I'm like, okay, can we not have that? Like, I really hated the techno music. Like, I think they were trying to have some sort of like a musical motif, but I just hated the music choices so much. Like, there was not a single song they put on there that I even liked. I just was so downright annoyed every single time. So maybe they had some better music choices, actually. I probably would have rated the movie like a 4.5 instead. But nope, I hated the music choices so much. Also, missed opportunity for this love triangle to be more like an actual triangle, you know? Because there was something going on between Patrick and Art, okay? Also, I definitely could have lived without the nudity. I really don't like nudity in live action films. I don't even like nudity in general, but like nudity in live action, that's one of those things that I just don't like. So yeah, but then again, Challengers is a rated R film. But yeah, that's pretty much it though. That's all I really have for y'all. I just had a lot more film and TV updates than I did have book updates, to be quite honest, because I just felt like watching stuff. If I'm not reading, I'm watching a film or a TV show. That's all I got. So for today, though, for the rest of today, because I am recording this around 4 something in the afternoon, I do have an engagement to go to, so I gotta do that. And when I come home, I think I'm gonna finish watching a season of a show that unfortunately got canceled. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think I will talk to you all either tomorrow or Friday. I'm not sure yet. Salutations, y'all. Today is Thursday, about 4:30 p.m.-ish. And I only have really a film review update because I did finally watch The Menu, 2022. And y'all, I really enjoyed this one. I actually, out of the 3 movies I've watched in this video diary, this is definitely my favorite one, for sure. So if you do not know what The Menu is about, this is a film that we follow a young couple who pay to go to this remote island where there's this restaurant where they have an exquisite foods, and there's a particular menu, and this particular menu is very much expensive. It's pretty much very lavish, and there's been a lot of critical acclaim. But then there's a certain twist to it that you realize, wait a minute, something about this menu seems a little off about it. Pretty much going from there. So this is actually a horror comedy, and I actually think this is definitely my kind of horror comedy, for sure. To be quite honest, I don't really watch a lot of horror comedies. I don't know why. It's not quite a genre blend that I really am interested in watching. I definitely like reading about some horror stuff that's actually kind of darkly funny, but watching it, not so much. And I don't know if it's because of lack of interest or because I'm just not familiar with films that are actually comedic to me. But The Menu, though, this one, y'all, it was funny. Okay, it was funny. It's very actually kind of it's definitely horror because there's definitely some gory stuff going on there. I was like, ooh, I felt like I was clutching my pearls. Y'all, that movie, wild, but also so highly entertaining. I really loved it. And I also did like the commentary that it was talking about at least as far as cooking and the passion to cook versus an obsession to cook. Honestly, it's definitely a weird film for sure, but not super weird. I think it's still pretty grounded, honestly. This is a film I definitely will want to rewatch more than once. And I have to say, there were plenty of times I was very much mad at a particular character. One character, I was like, oh, you nasty little, I wanted that person to die, and things happened, so I feel happy about that. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of, on-screen, death and stuff, though. And self-murder, so warning on that, and blood and all that stuff. But I will have to say, I was hoping for a particular conclusion, and I kind of got the conclusion. I was really having such a good time that I wanted the movie to be a little bit longer. I do think it could have room for just a little bit longer, because the way that even the film was gone, and especially when we follow our married character with her guy friend and stuff, and get into the restaurant, the film is section up into courses, with the starters, the first course, and all that stuff. So I feel like we could have had one more course, just one more, and then just a little bit longer, 5 more minutes, maybe 7 more minutes. I don't know for what, but I just was having a really good time, and I do feel like the ending, not the very, very end, but maybe it could leave a little bit more, just a little bit more cushioning room in there, just a little bit time to breathe. But also, I don't know, I just think it was just really, really good. So actually I gave this one 4.5 stars. I had such a really good time with this one. I just loved my time watching The Menu. It was so, so good. My gosh. I was feeling the stress for some characters. I was like, wait, what's going on here? Because I've heard about The Menu, but I did not know. I actually don't remember what a lot of people said about it, but this was good, y'all. If you have not seen The Menu, please watch it. Highly recommend. But that's actually the only update I have for y'all, because last night after I watched The Menu, that was it. I couldn't even really read anything. And to be quite honest, I do think maybe I am some sort of a reading slump. I don't know. why. My brain is just not able to just stick to one thing. Even when I was reading stuff I didn't read for very long. Maybe I read like a chapter or a few chapters, but then I wanted to move on and do something else. So that's where we're at. But anyways, let's actually just close out this video diary actually, because I think I kept y'all here for a little too long. As far as reading wise, there ain't much really to say. I just read some chapters. I did DNF a book though, How to Pronounce Knife. DNF'd it nearly a third of the way through. Don't have much to say about it. As far as the films though, I did watch 3 out of the 4 films I recently borrowed from the library. So we do have Barbie, which I gave 2 stars. The hype, I don't know what happened when this movie came out. The hype was a little bit too much. This was not a fun time for me. I just think it made no damn sense to me. And then we had Challengers, which this one was actually just a toxic good time about tennis and also not about tennis. Honestly, I kind of recommend it, not gonna lie. It does feel a little long though. I do think the movie's a little bit long. I do have a little bit of issue on the pacing, but other than that though, I did indeed enjoy watching Challengers, and then of course The Menu, the one that I definitely recommend more people to watch, especially if you're into like a dark comedy, like a horror comedy film. Solid, y'all, solid 4.5 stars. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know when I'll be watching Good Will Hunting, but I do hope it will be soon. Yeah, maybe when I do like a reading wrap-up video, maybe I could do like a wrap-up of like all the films I watched in the past like couple of months. So I've actually been rewatching, but also watching some new stuff as well. So if y'all are interested in kind of like a wrap-up style video for like the films and TV that I've been watching as well, I could do that. Just like a completely separate video if any of y'all are interested in for that, especially if I do get to Good Will Hunting. But anyways, yes, that is it. That's all I have for y'all. Thank you all for watching this video diary. It's kind of been all over the place, not gonna lie, but I do hope that y'all had a good time watching it. Like this video if you like it. Comment down below any of y'all's thoughts, I guess. Are any of y'all hitting this weird reading slump, or maybe some sort of slump? You feel like you're slumping? I don't know. Y'all let me know about that. And if you're new here and you like my vibe, you like the video and stuff, maybe consider subscribing if you feel like it. And if you made this far into the video, you're not sure what to say, but want to leave me an emoji to let me know you're here. Okay, we gotta do some sort of emoji for these films then. Okay, for Barbie, leave a pink heart emoji for Barbie. Leave me a tennis ball emoji for Challengers. And then leave me some sort of like knife or dinner plate emoji for The Menu. Anyways, thank you again for commenting on this video, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye.